Hello everyone, I am Jason Matthew from We Can EduTech, where we make learning to use educational technology simple. Thank you so much for being here. If you are interested in making your Zoom meetings more interactive for your learners, then this video is for you. Also, we have created other videos about Zoom, so be sure to check them out as well. Links in the video description below. During this session, we will first look at Zoom's whiteboard feature, and then we will look at how we can use those same annotation tools when we are sharing our screens in Zoom. At the end, I hope to convince you that the annotation functionality that Zoom provides must be the most valuable feature in Zoom for an educator. First, we will make sure that the annotation and whiteboard settings are turned on. You can access your annotation whiteboard settings via your Zoom web client. Now, how you can access your Zoom web client? Well, you can do that in a few ways. But the way I normally do it is that first I open my desktop client. I go to the cog here. I click on the cog and I go to settings. And then I go to the bottom of that window and I click view more settings. And what that will do is that I will open up my browser and direct it to the Zoom web client. So as you can see, the Zoom web client is up there. So I'm just going to close off these windows. All right, so we are going to go to the basic settings. So we click on basic. And then we scroll down until we see annotations and the whiteboard settings. All right, so here are the annotation and whiteboard settings. And in my Zoom web client, it's already turned on because as you can see, there's the blue ticks there, as well as my toggle is on, it's blue. And by default, it should be on, but we are just making sure that it's on. Now, if by chance you see yours gray like that, that means it's off. So you just need to toggle on it. So you just click on it and it becomes blue. And you see you get a confirmation your settings have been updated, as well as, so make sure that both the annotation and the whiteboard settings are on. That is there blue. You can also click autosave whiteboard content when sharing is stopped. I normally don't click this option because I don't always save my whiteboards. So it's one that you could decide if you want to turn on or off. So right now mine is turned off. There's no tick inside of it. So now that we have the appropriate settings turned on, let's start a meeting using our Zoom desktop client and try out the whiteboard. So I don't need this Zoom web client anymore. So I can close my Google Chrome browser window. And now I'm going to open my Zoom desktop client. So I click on my Zoom desktop client icon here. It brings up my Zoom desktop client. And I am going to go to meetings. So I click on meetings in the tabs there at the top. And for this example, I'm going to choose my biology 101 class session. So I click on that and then I click start. And a new window will open up connecting me to that meeting. I join with computer audio. So now my microphone is connected and on. And I can minimize the desktop client. And now I have my meeting window open. So I'm just going to maximize this a bit so you can see it better. All right, so I have my meeting window open. Now I go to the control panel at the bottom here. And I click on the share screen button. And I have a few things I can share, but in this example, I'm going to choose the whiteboard. So I click on whiteboard and then I click share. And as simple as that, the whiteboard is in front of me. So Zoom's whiteboard is intended to replicate the whiteboard you would use in a face-to-face classroom. So whatever you would normally do on a whiteboard in the classroom, you will be able to do with the annotations toolbar, with the added bonus of being able to save a snapshot of it to review later. So this annotation toolbar allows me to do a lot of things. Like one of the things I can do is that I can add text directly to the whiteboard. So if I click on the text tool, and I can click anywhere on the whiteboard and then I can add text. So I'm just typing on my keyboard, hello there. All right. And as you can see, there's the text box border And I could continue typing as much as I want within that text box border. Now, look at this. If I click outside of that, then the text has been entered. And using the text tool, I can add some more text. So I'm just typing on my keyboard here. And if I click away from it, well, those two text boxes have been entered there. Now, with the text box, so the text tool selected, if I now try to click here on these words, you can see a new text box comes up. But using the text tool, I can't edit the text that I have already entered. That doesn't mean that you can't. You just can't use the text tool to do it. What you'll have to use is the select tool. Now, when I choose the select tool now, so as you can see, the text tool is no longer highlighted. It's now the select tool that's highlighted in blue there. The select tool means that I can move objects on the whiteboard to different places. So for instance, the text that I have there, if I click on it, I can move it anywhere that I want. So as you can see, I'm clicking on it and I can move that text anywhere, any position on the whiteboard. But as you can also see, the text box border has come up. And what that means is that if I double click within that text box, I can edit the text. I can add more text if I want. All right. And I could also edit. So look, I'm deleting what I have there. And it's that simple. So you use the select tool to edit text that is already on the whiteboard. You can also copy and paste text onto the whiteboard. So I'll select the text tool once again. I'm going to choose a spot on the whiteboard. And then I'm going to open up a Word document that I have here. I'm going to select the text in the Word document. Right click, click on copy. I'm going to minimize the Word document now. And I'm going to go to my whiteboard. And I can just right click there and click paste. And as you can see, let me just move this a little bit more. So I'm going to select the select tool and just raise the text a little bit more. As you can see, the text is now pasted on the whiteboard. So you could have text that is already prepared in a Word document or something, and then copy and paste it in the whiteboard if that's something you need to do. All right, and again, you can use the select tool to move all your text wherever you want them to be on the whiteboard. You can also draw on the whiteboard. So if I click on the draw tool now, I can draw freehand. So I can do whatever I want. Right now I'm using my mouse and I'm just drawing about the place. Or you can draw specific shapes. So if you click on draw again, you see that you can draw lines, you can draw rectangles. So if I just want to draw a rectangle, all right. I can also use the format tool here to change the color of whatever I'm drawing and stuff. So if I wanted to draw a green line, oh sorry, well I had it on a rectangle, I can draw a green rectangle. Similarly, I should just go back a little bit. If I wanted to change the color of the text, so for instance, so I select the text tool again, I go to format and I want the text to be, let's say for some reason I want it in brown. All right, let's click anywhere. And now this is my new text. All right, and there are other things you can do under formatting. You can change the line width. You can change the font if you want it to be bold, italics, or you want to change the size of the font. These are different things that you can do as well. Now let's go back to the draw tool here. There are other things that you can draw. You can draw a solid rectangle. All right, and there are other objects that you can do. You also have a highlighter feature here. So if I click on the highlighter here, I can highlight things that I have on the whiteboard. I can change the color of the highlighter just by clicking on format, and there you go. So you can also highlight on the whiteboard. The next tool is the stamp tool. And the stamp tool allows you to add different things that an educator will use, like for instance the correct symbol. So we could add correct there. And there are other things. You can star something if you like something. If you really love something, there's also the heart symbol. So there are different things that you can do via the stamp tool there. All right, if like let's say there's an annotation that you need some more clarification on, you could put a question mark. All right, so there are different things you can do with the stamp tool. I will come back to the spotlight feature later in the video, and we'll see how that's really great, like when you're using PowerPoints and stuff. The next tool is the eraser tool, and as the name suggests, it means that you can erase whatever annotations you have on the whiteboard. There's the undo button, so you can undo whatever changes you made, or you could redo the changes. And then there's the clear tool. Now, if you click on the clear tool, there are a few options you have. As the host, you will get 3 options. You can clear everything on the whiteboard by selecting clear all drawings. Or, for instance, as we will see later, you can share your whiteboard. When you're sharing your whiteboard with your students, the students can also annotate on the whiteboard. And if it's a situation where you just want to clear your drawings as the host, well, then you can select the second option, which is to clear my drawings. So you'll be clearing your drawings as the host. And then the third option is to clear viewers' drawings. So as I said, if you and your students were annotating on the whiteboard and you want to clear what the students have annotated on the whiteboard, then you could clear viewers' drawings. So then all the student stuff will be cleared. If the whiteboard is getting full, you can always start a new whiteboard surface by going to the bottom right corner of the whiteboard, and you click on that plus sign there. And now you are, if you watch, that was page 1. Now you are on the second surface. So there's a 2 there, and you can continue adding text, and doing everything else that we were doing before. All right, so you can do whatever you like on this second page. And similarly, if this whiteboard surface is getting full, then you can just click and go to another surface. Now, sometimes you would have done something that's really important on the whiteboard, and you want to save it so that you can share a copy with probably your class or as part of a presentation or something. And the way in which you save the whiteboard is that you use the final tool, which is the save tool. So you click on save, and that's it. The whiteboard is saved. Now, if you are not sure where the files are saved, but then there's normally a show in finder or show in folder prompt that will direct you to where the files are saved. By default, Zoom will save files in a Zoom folder within the My Documents folder on your computer. Since we have annotated on 2 whiteboard surfaces, there will be 2 PNG files saved. So I'm just going to click on save again so we can see the show in finder, or you might see show in folder option. You click on it, and then it directs you to the folder that contains the save files. And because I clicked on save twice, you see that it has been saved twice. But let's go to this first one, this PNG file. I'm going to open it. If I double click on it, you see that it has saved the first whiteboard surface as a PNG file. So you have that as a record. I'm going to close this off. And then if you look at the second one, it saved whatever we annotated on the second surface. So it's a great way to record what you have done on the whiteboard in case it's a form of notes that you need to save, or you want to present it to the class and so on. Well, then the whiteboards are being saved. So this is a very powerful feature to use in your classroom, and it adds a very interactive element in your Zoom session. So please use this. Okay, so let me close this PNG file here. So now I have my whiteboard. And as again, this was the second whiteboard surface. So if you just want to toggle and you want to go back to the first whiteboard surface, you just go to the bottom right corner there, and you see we are on surface number 2. I can just go to the first one. So now we are back on the first page. So far, we have looked at how the host, that is the teacher, can annotate the whiteboard. Now let's see how the participant, that is the student, can annotate. But first, before we get the student in the classroom and stuff, let's just make sure our annotation settings are set so that the students can also annotate on the whiteboard. So right now we are sharing our whiteboard. So our zoom controls are at the top of the window there. So I just need to go to the top of the window here. And you see your control panel comes up. I'm going to click on more, and then I'm going to see what I have here. Right now, I have the option to disable an attendee annotation, meaning that right now my student's annotation function is available. And the other option is show names of annotators. So you want to click on that. So it means that when your students are annotating, you'll see their name. So again, to know that your student annotation feature is on, when I click on more, it should have where it's asking you know if you want to disable attendee annotation. So that means that it is on at the moment, and that's what you want if you want your students to annotate. And then it's now asking, do you want to hide the names of the annotators? So that means that the annotators' names are on, meaning that when they start to annotate on the whiteboard, you're going to see their names. So this is the features you want to have on when the students are annotating. Now, the good news about this is that you could always access your control panel, click on more, and you can at any point in the meeting disable attendee annotation. So if for some reason during the meeting you don't want your students to annotate on the whiteboard or annotate on any surface, then you can disable it. And you could also reverse that anytime during the meeting, which is that you can turn it back on for the students. So that's something to keep in mind. So now that we have that in check there, I'm going to ask a student to enter the session. And in this example, the student will be Christy. And so she's going to enter the session now. So Christy has joined the meeting. And so my screen is on the left. Her screen is on the right. And as you can see, because she joined the meeting and we have already been sharing the whiteboard, she sees the whiteboard right away as she joins the meeting. So this will be happening like if, for instance, a student joined the class late and you already had the whiteboard up, they're just going to dive straight into the whiteboard. Now let me stop sharing on my screen. So I'm going to stop sharing the whiteboard for a second. So Christy doesn't see the whiteboard anymore. Now let me go and share my whiteboard again. So I'm going to click on share. And I'm going to choose the whiteboard and I'm going to click on share. And as soon as I click share, we should see the whiteboard coming up on Christy's screen again. So, and I remember, because I didn't end the meeting, the whiteboard and all the stuff that we already done on it is still there. So Zoom keeps the whiteboard until you officially end the meeting. Then that whiteboard will be reset back to a blank whiteboard. Now for Christy to annotate on this whiteboard, all she has to do is go to the top of her screen where it says view options, click on view options, and then one of the options there is to annotate. So she just clicks on annotate, and as you can see, she gets the same toolbar, the annotation toolbar that we have. And she also has access to all the tools and be able to do most, if not all of the stuff that we are able to do. There are some limitations in that she's not able to erase other people's annotations. So for instance, right now, presently on the whiteboard, those are all my annotations. So if she clicks on the eraser tool and she tries to erase anything there, you see nothing is being erased. Similarly, if she tries to click on clear, she can't clear anything that other people have annotated. She could only clear what she has annotated. So let's add something. So she could click on the text icon here. And let's say she says, hello, sir. All right, so now Christy is typing that. As you can see on my screen, I can see hello, sir coming up. And if I click on my select tool and I hover over it, I can see that this is Christy's annotation because her name is coming up there. Similarly, if I hover over mine, I can see my name coming up as well. Now, because hello sir is Christy's annotation, if she now clicks on the eraser tool she can erase that because that's her annotation. She can't erase any other person's annotation. Only the host, that is the teacher, can erase everybody's annotation. Only the teacher has that control. The students can only affect what they have annotated and what they have added to the whiteboard. As I said, the rest of the tools are accessible to the student, and they can do the same things, same kind of annotation stuff that the teacher was doing. So they can use the stamp tool, they can add, give feedback, and they can change the formatting if they want, and so on. The student can also save a copy of the whiteboard on their computer as well for their note-taking as well. Now remember, in my example, we had two whiteboard surfaces. Now if you look on Christy's screen here, she can't go to the second surface, but you can change to the second surface and then all the students will see it. So if I click on the arrow in the bottom right there, I go to the second surface and it also immediately directs the student's screen to that second surface. So you as the host have that kind of control. Another feature that you as the host have is that you could pause the screen share. Now during that period where you pause the screen share, students won't see any changes you make on the whiteboard during that time. Also, the student will not be able to make any changes on the whiteboard during that time. Now, how do you pause screen share? You again access your Zoom control panel. And remember, once you are in share screen mode, it's by default at the top of the window. So you just go to the top of the window and then you click pause share. And then you get this confirmation saying that your screen sharing is paused. And if you were watching on the students window, you will see that as soon as I clicked on pause share, her annotation toolbar disappeared. So I'm just going to resume share one more time. All right. Now, once I resume share, the student has to go to view options and click on annotate, and she will get the toolbar coming back up. So I'm going to pause share one more time. So I'm going to click on pause share and look at how her annotation toolbar will disappear. So you see it's gone. If the student clicks on view options, you can see that there's no annotate option there at the moment because right now you as the host have paused screen sharing. So you can, as the host, continue to add stuff on the whiteboard. So I'm going to say adding text while screen share is paused. All right. Okay. Oops, bad spelling. All right. So I have that there. I can move it around. As you can see, I am making changes to the whiteboard, but the student, Christy, she can't see the changes that I'm doing right now. So I just made some changes to the whiteboard. Now, once I resume screen sharing, the changes on the whiteboard will be seen by the student. So I'm just going to go back to the top to the control panel and I'm going to click resume share. Now before I click resume share, again remember, if I go to view options on the students window, so let's look at Christy's window here. If I go to view options, there's no annotate option right now. Also, as we are here, there are different ways in which the student can see the window. Right now, it's set to fit the whole entire window. But if the student wants to minimize this or decrease the size of the window, they can decrease it by half and other stuff. All right. So there's something on the side there. Now look at what happens when I click resume share. Look at what happens on the Christie's window, the student's window. She will now see the new changes. Plus, she will be able to once again annotate. So I'm just going to click resume share. And as you can see, immediately all the changes came up. And if Christy goes to view options, she can now annotate once again. And remember, at any point of this session, you can remove annotation privileges from students. So you just click on more and then you click disable attendee annotation. And as you can see on Christy's window, the toolbar disappeared. And if she goes to view options, she doesn't have the annotate option anymore. And you can always reverse that at any time in the meeting by, again, going to the top of your window, accessing your control panel, click on more, and then click enable attendee annotation. And now when the student goes to view options, there's the annotate option again, and they can have access to the annotation toolbar. Now, right now, it's a kind of all or nothing process, meaning that the host can give everyone access to the whiteboard or no one. At least up to the time I was recording this video, the host, the teacher, could not give specific students, to specific participants, annotation privileges. Maybe that will change in the future. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to come out of the Zoom meeting, and I'm going to discuss go over some of the things that we have done so far. So let's go over all the things that you can do on the whiteboard. You can write, draw, and highlight on the whiteboard. You can copy and paste text onto the whiteboard. And remember, you can also use the select tool to edit text that's already on the whiteboard. You can copy and paste images or other files onto the whiteboard. Just like how in a real whiteboard, you won't be able to just copy and paste an image on the whiteboard. You could draw on the whiteboard. You could draw a diagram on the whiteboard. But you can just copy and paste the image. And you will see in the second half of this video how you can actually share an image on the Zoom session and annotate that as well. As the host, you can clear all annotations, but participants can only clear their annotations, and you can save all the pages of the whiteboard. If you're a teacher that uses Zoom to deliver lessons and you need greater control when writing, such as a science teacher or a math teacher may need when writing equations, then you may want to consider getting a stylus and a tablet, such as the Wacom tablets, or if you have the Apple Pencil and iPad, or any stylus and tablet that connects to the computer should be able to work as well. It will give you more control. Like right now in my examples, I'm using the mouse to draw freehand, and it doesn't give you all that control, especially if you are trying to write those long complex equations. So a stylus and a tablet will go a long way in terms of giving you that added control and so on. Just keep in mind that your learners may not have this equipment, so it is something to consider when designing your lessons. So in these videos, we don't just like to talk about how to use the tools. We also like to put forward ideas on how you can apply the tool as an educator. This is by no means an exhaustive list, so if you come up with other ideas or already use the tool differently, please share your stories in the comment sections in the videos. So I was thinking you can use the whiteboard to visualize things better. You could create concept maps, diagrams, storyboards, etc. Another suggestion where the whiteboard feature can come in handy is when you divide your students into small groups using the breakout rooms feature in Zoom. The students can use the whiteboard to write and draw their ideas in their brainstorm sessions, and then save it and present it in the main session after. Breakout rooms is another great way to make your Zoom sessions interactive, and we have created a video on how to use them. Link in the video description below. So far, we have looked at how to share and annotate a whiteboard. But the truth is that once you can share something on your screen, you can annotate it. The first thing we're going to be looking at is how we can annotate a PowerPoint. So it really brings your PowerPoint to life when you use the screen share and annotate functions in Zoom. We have created a video on the different ways you can share your screen. So be sure to look out for that video. Link in the video description below. So I'm actually using a PowerPoint presentation right now. So I'm going to come out of this PowerPoint presentation, return to my Zoom meeting, and share this PowerPoint presentation. And my screen is going to be on the left, and Christy, the student's screen, is going to be on the right. And let's see how we can annotate a PowerPoint. So with my PowerPoint open on the desktop like that, I'm going to go to my Zoom meeting. I'm going to click on share screen. And now you can see that my PowerPoint is part of the basic things that I can share. So I choose the PowerPoint and then I click share. And if you're watching on Christy's screen, the PowerPoint also comes up on Christy's screen. So I can just, let me just get this a little bigger on my screen, that is, so you can see it a little better. All right. Now look at what happens when I go to the top. I can, on my control panel at the top there, I can click on annotate. And look at what happens when I click on annotate. There we go. We have the annotation toolbar that we were just using on the whiteboard. And I can do everything that I was just demonstrating on the whiteboard, I can do on my PowerPoint presentation. And that's very cool. So like for instance, I can add text. I can draw. Oops, I didn't select draw. I can draw. I can highlight things. So if I wanted to highlight this, I can highlight. I can change the formatting. I can change the line weight. All right, so you see you can annotate and you can do everything that you were doing on the whiteboard. Now, just one thing to remember is that when time to change the slide from one slide to the other, you have to choose the mouse option. So click on the mouse tool. And once you click on the mouse tool, then you get your cursor back and you can go to another slide. Now look at what happened when I go to the other slide. Something to also remember. Your annotations that you made on the previous slide comes over to the new slide. So just remember that when you are presenting and you're annotating your PowerPoint, that before you go to our next screen, you would want to clear those annotations. So like, let's say when I was on this screen, this slide, once I finished with this slide and I was going to move to the other slide, I would have clicked on clear and I would have clicked clear all drawings. And I would have removed all the annotations. Now, just before I go there, also remember that once enabled, your participants can also annotate on the screen. So in this case, they could annotate this PowerPoint presentation. So let's demonstrate that. So if you look on Christy's screen, she just needs to click on View Options, click Annotate, and now her annotation toolbar is up there. She can add some text in there. So I'm just going to type in some random stuff. All right, she can draw as well. All right, and you can see, we can see her name coming up. So we know exactly which participant is doing what. I can also click on the select tool and I can just hover over the different annotations. So I know as a teacher who is doing what. I'm just going to let Christy do some other stuff. Let's add some stars. So she's adding stars on the PowerPoint. Now, although we are adding all these things to the PowerPoint, remember, these are what we call non-destructive additions, meaning that the actual PowerPoint is not being affected, all right? So your slides remain intact. We are just annotating on the screen. If you want to save the annotations, then you always have the save tool here. So once you click on it, it's going to save all your annotations and so on, all right? But remember, I was saying before you go to your next screen, if you don't want these annotations to follow to the next screen, which is most likely the case, you will want to clear it. Now, if I click on clear and I click clear all drawings, it's going to clear everything. But like for instance, if I just wanted to clear what Christy did, what the student did, I just need to click on clear viewers drawing, and you see all of Christy's annotations were removed. But most likely you want to clear all the drawings, so you just clear that and then you go to the next screen. To move to the next screen, you just select the mouse tool, and now you can go to your next screen. So when we are sharing our PowerPoints, we could also go into full screen mode. So let's go into full screen mode. All I have to do is click full screen on the PowerPoints. I click full screen, And now my PowerPoint presentation is in full screen. And this is where you can really do some interesting stuff. So like for instance, this is a diagram of a typical animal cell. And I could choose the spotlight feature. So that's a tool that I haven't used previously. So it's really great, especially when you're sharing your PowerPoints, to use this spotlight feature. The spotlight acts like a laser pointer and turns your cursor into a red dot. So I choose spotlight, and then I choose the spotlight feature here. And as you can see, if you follow the laser pointer, I can use this to highlight stuff. So like for instance, I can say, hey, this here is the nucleus, is the site of ribosomal RNA synthesis. So I can highlight what is what there. So it's a useful thing. Speaking of highlight, you can also click on draw. You can choose the highlighter and I can highlight. So I can say this is the nucleus right here. And so that's some other things. Also, you can click on spotlight, and instead of using the laser pointer, you can also use an arrow. So like for instance, let's say I wanted to highlight ribosomes. I can just click next to ribosomes. And then I can say, well, I'm going to move over now to the mitochondrion. So I click on mitochondrion. So it's a great way that you can use these tools to let your students focus on particular parts of your screen. So the spotlight feature, again, it works just like a laser pointer, or you can use the arrow tool to say, well, exactly where you're pointing, or you can use the highlighter and highlight parts of your screen. So now to go to the next slide, I just have to click on the mouse tool on my annotation toolbar, and I can go to the next slide. So let me do that. Let me click on mouse, and then I go to the other slide. I'm just going to clear all my annotations there. So now we could take the slide we had previously and change the same class experience from a passive one to an active one. So as you can see, I've removed all the labels from the cell. And in this case, I'm now asking the students to label the cell. Now I'll show you how I converted the previous slide into this slide. But first, let's look at the example here. So in this example, I'm going to ask Christy to label the nucleolus. So Christy has to look at the cell here, look at the different organelles, and then she'll probably say, well, this one is the nucleus here. So she used the text tool. She looks at the line that's going from the organelle that she wants to choose, and she just clicks next to the line there, and she types in nucleolus. And once she clicks out of the text box, we're seeing that nucleus is coming up on our screen as well. Now, as a teacher, you can give some immediate feedback. So you could click on the stamp tool here and then click on the correct sign, and you just go right there and you click it. So right away, Christy receives feedback that she's correct. So now, as promised, I'm going to go to the PowerPoint itself and show how we can convert the slide we had before to this new slide. So now I have my PowerPoint. This is just a regular normal PowerPoint. And I'm going to go, so this is the slide we had originally with all the labels and stuff. So this could have been like a scan you took from your textbook. And as you can see, I manipulated that slide to give you this slide where it has no labels. And that's a really easy fix. One of the things is that you should try to get a really high quality diagram to use first of all. And ideally it should have like a plain color background. So like in this case, it just has a white background. And all you have to do is click on insert and then click on shapes. And we are looking for a rectangle that's going to suit this case. And all you have to do now is then just highlight over the labels there. All right, you could change the size of it. all right, just to make sure it covers all the words. And then you can select what color you want. So this is a white background, so I'm going to be looking for some white, and just to make things faster. All right, so I want a white background, so that's it. Now, as you can see, if you want, you can have borders and stuff if you want to indicate exactly in which spaces you want the student to enter the information in. So right now, if I click outside the box, you see it has this orange color. I can just click on it, shape outline, I can choose that, and I can choose no outline. Now if I click out, boom, there's no outline. All right, and you could always go back and change the shape of the box, because I just saw like some of it was still showing. And you see, and you do that for all your other labels, and then you'll get something like this, where you know asking the students to label the same diagram that you could have gone through each step of the way, explaining what they are. So it's a really nice knowledge check feature you could use. It increases the interactivity and engagement in the classroom. So, you know, I'm sure you're going to have some really cool ideas. Don't forget to share them with us so that we can also learn from your experiences. So let's go over all the things we can and can't do while annotating on the shared screen, and specifically PowerPoint. You can write, draw, and highlight. You can copy and paste text. Now, once the text is entered there, to edit it, you could use the select tool that's also on the annotation toolbar. As the host, you can clear all annotations, but participants can only clear their annotations. You can save your annotations. Annotations from one slide goes to the other slide if not cleared. So you'll have to choose the mouse tool on the annotation toolbar so that you can get your cursor back and be able to proceed to the next slide. And it doesn't stop there with PowerPoint. You know, you can annotate images, PDFs, scans, waveforms, etc. Once you can get it on the screen and share it with your participant, it can be annotated. Even a video, you can pause the video at key points and annotate it using the annotation toolbar. We have done a video just on that, on screen sharing, that you should check out. Link in the video description below. I hope that I have convinced you that the annotation functionality that Zoom provides is one of the most valuable features in Zoom for an educator. Finally, you should also, as an educator, be aware and look out for Zoom, what is called Zoom bombing, where there's a participant in the meeting that is doing inappropriate annotations, you know. So there have been cases of that. Now, what do you do when that happens? Well, first of all, I've done a video on Zoom security that covers Zoom bombing in great detail. But in this particular instance, here are the steps that you would do. First, remain calm and work fast. You want to pause the sharing of your screen, disable annotations, and then remove the user that is doing these annotations. And once you remove the user, based on the settings that you have, which are also described in the Zoom security video, that user will not be able to rejoin the meeting. And of course, you report the user to Zoom. As I said, all of those things are discussed in the Zoom security feature. So just to recap, remain calm, work fast. Pause sharing. So, you know, once you pause sharing, the participants can no longer see anything on the screen and they can no longer annotate on the screen. You disable annotation, so no other participant can annotate even after you resume the class. You remove the Zoom bomber. And once you remove the person, they can't rejoin the meeting, again, based on your settings. And you report the user to Zoom if it's really an inappropriate thing and it's not one of your students. You would want to report that IP address. And all of this is explained in the Zoom security video, and I'll put the links in the video description below. Please have a look at our other videos to learn more about Zoom and other educational technologies. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification icon so you don't miss a thing. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Stay safe. Bye.